Hi, this is Julia from Avatar Academy. Let me start with something that almost every intermediate English learner experiences, but rarely talks about. You often know what you want to say. The idea is clear in your head. You can explain it perfectly in your native language. But the moment you try to say the same thing in English, your thoughts feel messy. Sentences come out incomplete. You stop in the middle. You restart. And sometimes you give up and say something much simpler than what you actually wanted to express. This problem is not about vocabulary. It is not about grammar either. It is about organization. More specifically, it is about how your brain organizes ideas before speaking in a second language. In your native language, organizing thoughts happens automatically. You don't plan sentences. You don't think about structure. Your brain has years of experience building ideas in that language, so everything flows naturally. In English, especially at the B1-B2 level, this system is still developing. That is why your ideas feel faster than your words. Many learners think the solution is to speak faster or learn more words, but the real solution is learning how to slow down mentally, not verbally. You don't need to speak slowly. You need to think more clearly before you speak. One of the biggest mistakes intermediate learners make is starting to talk before the idea is fully formed. You begin the sentence with confidence, then halfway through, you realize you don't know how to finish it. This creates hesitation, fillers, and anxiety. Over time, your brain starts associating speaking English with stress instead of clarity. Research in psycholinguistics shows that fluent speakers don't think word by word. They think in chunks. A chunk is a group of words that represent one idea. Native speakers and advanced learners rely heavily on these chunks to organize speech quickly and naturally. When you don't use chunks, your brain has to build every sentence from zero. This increases cognitive load, and under pressure, cognitive load destroys fluency. That's why one of the most important skills at the B1-B2 level is learning to organize ideas before they turn into sentences. This does not mean memorizing speeches. It means training your brain to recognize simple patterns of thought. For example, many spoken ideas follow very basic logic: situation, reaction, reason, result. You don't need to say these parts out loud, but your brain needs to feel them internally. When you skip this internal organization, your speech feels chaotic. When you respect it, your speech feels calm, even if your English is not perfect. Another reason ideas feel disorganized is translation. When you think in your native language and then translate into English while speaking, your ideas arrive in the wrong order. Languages don't organize thoughts the same way. English often prefers clarity early. Long explanations usually come later. If you translate directly, your sentence structure feels heavy and confusing. To fix this, you need to separate thinking from translating. Instead of translating full sentences, try to identify the core idea first. Ask yourself silently, what is the main point I want to say? Once that point is clear, supporting details become easier. This technique reduces pressure because you are no longer trying to say everything at once. You are guiding the listener step by step, which is exactly what fluent speakers do. Another hidden problem is fear of silence. Many learners are uncomfortable with short pauses. They feel that pausing means failure. In reality, pauses are a sign of control. Fluent speakers pause to think. Silence gives your brain time to organize ideas. When you remove pauses, you force your brain to rush, and rushed thinking leads to messy speech. Studies on spoken fluency show that strategic pausing improves clarity and listener comprehension. You don't need to fill every second with sound. A short pause before speaking often leads to a much stronger sentence. There is also the emotional side. When you feel nervous, your brain jumps between ideas without finishing them. This is not a language problem, it is a stress response. That is why practicing calm thinking is just as important as practicing English itself. One effective method is mental rehearsal. Before speaking, even for a few seconds, imagine the idea as a simple path: beginning, middle, end. You don't need exact words. You need direction. Direction gives your brain stability. Another powerful habit is expanding ideas slowly. Many learners answer questions with very short responses because they are afraid of losing control. But control actually increases when you allow yourself to continue. Each sentence gives you more context, and context makes the next sentence easier. At the B1-B2 level, fluency grows when you trust continuity. You don't need the perfect first sentence. You need a clear starting point. Once you start, your brain adapts. Also, remember this: organizing thoughts is a skill, not a talent. It improves with exposure and repetition. The more you listen to well-structured speech, the more your brain absorbs those patterns. Over time, you stop thinking about organization because it becomes automatic. This is why long listening content is so important at this stage. It trains your brain to follow ideas, not just words. And when your brain learns to follow ideas, it learns to produce them. If you struggle to organize your thoughts in English, it does not mean your level is low. It means your brain is still learning how to manage complexity in a second language. That is a normal and necessary stage of progress. With patience, repetition, and the right mental approach, clarity will replace chaos. One day, you will notice that your ideas come out more smoothly, your sentences feel connected, and speaking feels less exhausting. That is when you know you are moving from intermediate understanding to real communicative ability. Before you leave, make sure to join our Telegram group to download the worksheet for this episode and practice organizing ideas in real situations. You'll also find exercises designed specifically to help you speak with more structure and confidence. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram. The links are in the description. This is Julia from Avatar Academy. Keep going.